Good afternoon. I'm here with Dr. Faris Farassati, candidate for Overland Park City Council, Ward 5. On behalf of the Johnson County Public Policy Council, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
The Johnson County Public Policy Council is made up of 10 chambers of commerce in Johnson County. Our goal is to provide information about public policy issues impacting area businesses. Faris, are you ready to get started?
Yes, let's do it.
Great. In regard to economic development, it's been argued that incentives aren't necessary because development will occur naturally without them being offered. What is your opinion?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your efforts and the efforts of your colleagues. I have consistently in the last 2 years have been on this opinion that market economy at the end of the day drives what happens. We have this theory for 300 years proven over and over again that market economy is going to drive what happens when it happens. The role of government is not to try to influence the market economy. The role of the government is to try to provide background in a way that the economy would flourish. So I have been constantly against incentives unless they are in a blighted and highly socioeconomically depressed area. I believe if a project needs public incentives to survive, that project needs to go somewhere else that does not need public incentives. I believe if you have a runner that needs steroids to win the race, that runner is not ready to compete. I think we have to be in a situation that these projects who are in Overland Park, the projects that are not in blighted areas, would evaluate the feasibility of their financial portfolio in a logical manner, and they would not calculate upon public incentive in it. And the last thing I wanted to say is that the evidence is out from our neighboring state, Missouri, to Kansas, to a number of studies out there, as was highlighted in a recent article by Kansas City Star. Public incentives are not going to work for you. They shuffle some projects from here, from there, but in the big picture, they don't work, and in many cases, we are not seeing the benefits that we expected coming back to taxpayer. So my position has been that these things need a critical analysis, a very good review, and in many cases, tax dollars should go to public projects, not private corporations.
What is your opinion on what is commonly referred to as dark store theory? And what do you think Overland Park should be doing today, if anything, to prepare for rulings that favor the plaintiffs?
So, dark store theory simply says that assessment of the property taxes should not be as a function of business that happens there. Otherwise, if you are living in this house and suddenly a multimillionaire comes and buys that house, the property tax for you and that multimillionaire should be the same no matter how much income you have, basically. It's just the boiled down version of it. I believe that's, and you will see this reasoning coming back to us, that that's one of the very good reasons that we should protect the tax dollars that our citizens pay us very dearly. We are going to be in a situation that our income, either from sales and commercial activities, or from these stores that we were charging them X amount of dollars, is going to go down. And I think the cities need to be very well aware of this coming. As we know, they have prevailed in one step in the court. And in preparation of that, we should be able to protect the tax dollars for our public projects in a very more stronger way. Otherwise, the possibility of dark store theory taking away a multi-million dollars out of our budget necessitates us, makes us to be more aware of these tax incentives given to private corporations not to be necessary anymore, and if anything, it's urgent that we do not give them out and keep them for enhancement of our infrastructure.
Housing affordability is addressed in Forward OP, and it's a topic of considerable discussion among employers. What do you think the City of Overland Park should be doing to address this problem?
So, as I mentioned in my interview with KCUR in February on this topic, on this very important topic, affordability in terms of housing can threaten your economy, nationally, regionally, and even in your city. But this is a scientific area that needs study. This needs research. Before we think about ways to fix it, we need to define the question better. What is affordability in Overland Park? And I have mentioned this before. Is it the $1,200 per month that KCMO considers affordable, including utilities. There are a few factors which influence this. Our housing market, the inventory of housing or socioeconomy, average family income, demographics of Overland Park. We need to study this, define affordable housing, and this definition could probably be different in different parts of Overland Park as well. And once we know that, then we can approach it. How can we approach this? Again, having a specific plans, I'm not, talking general. I have proposed in other interviews that I had a few models for it, based on Denver, based on San Francisco. Models which are based on, for example, promoting sustainable and energy conserving structures as a way to make the rent that you are paying affordable. Or the rent to own programs somewhat supported by local and state government as a way to make eventuality of ownership a reality for somebody who rents. Or establishing this affordable housings in an area that approach to the work, to employment is very easy and is not going to cost you an arm and leg to transport. So these ideas are all applicable. We have a number of models, as I said, different cities. Once we know what the question is, we can go and see which model is going to be applicable, and then we can tailor it to the needs of people of Overland Park.
In the short term, it appears we can keep our mill levy unchanged to meet current budget obligations. However, sluggish sales tax collections and increased demands on infrastructure from growth could necessitate a change. What are your thoughts on our current budget and the outlook for the future?
I think the question is extremely informative. We have expenses going very high. A residential street in front of your house, 25 feet wide street, is anywhere between $1.3 to $2.6 million a mile if you want to change only the surface or if you want to change the gutters and everything and curbs and everything. $2.6 million a mile. A thoroughfare could be anywhere between $5-6 million to $10 million a mile. So we have to be very aware of these costs, which is going to hit Overland Park. Overland Park is not a young city anymore. Our infrastructure needs maintenance. We are 60 years old. So sales are going to go down because of Amazon effect, because of internet effect, undoubtedly. Therefore, what we need to do at the end of the day is, if we don't want to put the burden of these maintenance costs all on residential homeowner, single family homeowner, apartment owner, we have to be able to charge appropriate tax amounts to the development that happens. Development that is coming to Overland Park, they are welcome. They help our city to become good quality city, but they need to pay their own fair share. It cannot be that you make a project and you profit hundreds of millions of dollars and you don't pay your taxes for 15 years. We have to have a balance here. So my formula for this is let everybody pay their own fair shares. And if you want to keep the mill levy, keep the burden on residentials the same or not having it to go up, the corporates have to come in terms of development, real estate development, and chip in. And that way we're going to have a good city with good quality of public amenities, and everybody is going to benefit from it.
The governors of Kansas and Missouri have recently forged a truce in the so-called economic border war. Do you support their actions, and what impact do you believe their agreement will have on Overland Park?
I support their action. There is no question in it. Since 2011, this border truce has costed both states $300 million. And has not created such an economic boost, neither on Missouri side nor on Kansas side. The studies prove you. And that's why these two governors sat down and they said, let's put an end to it. If one side was significantly benefiting of it, they would not come to a negotiation table. But, so that I support it. And I think that's going to have a overall positive effect on Overland Park, because then you're going to come to Overland Park and build whatever you want to build or do whatever business you want to do based on your own merits. But I want to again put a legend here for you. We need to stop the truce, the war, the border war that Overland Park projects on the neighboring cities as well. These tax benefits that we give out at the city of Overland Park is a somewhat version of the same border war. In the last 5 years, the numbers approach in the neighborhood of about $400 million tax giveaways that we give away from city of Overland Park. Border wall on the state was $300 million for 2011. number for us, for Overland Park in the last 4 years approaches $400 million. I want that to stop. I want that to stop. So we are not competing versus other neighboring cities in a way that we just inject public cash to it. One more time, and just to confirm. This is for undeserving projects. If you are talking about blighted areas and stuff, that's a different formula. So I think it's a good milestone that they have achieved, and I think to our local economy it's going to have good impact, and I think we need to go that way with our own tax giveaway issue as well.
And as we wrap up, tell us why you're seeking public office. What do you believe most distinguishes you from your opponent in the race and making you best suited to serve?
One more time, I respect and admire anybody who wants to serve a public office. I thank everybody, including my opponents, for running. I have respect for their family, and I wish them the best of luck. But what I bring to the table is a scientist. Scientists are usually in the labs. Here is a scientist who comes to government, and I bring critical thinking. I am unbiased one way or the other. I look at the evidence. Hence the term evidence-based government that I believe I have proposed and put on the table, kind of new in Overland Park. A government that looks at research, study, and acts on that without a mindset. A government that goes and looks at every and each proposal with open mind, but with the understanding that it represents people and benefit of the public. That is in essence what I suggest and what I bring to the table. I am supported by the people of Overland Park. I am not supported by special interest groups. My campaign finances shows that there is not a penny of any lobbyists or any special groups in my campaign. I am purely supported by people, but therefore I represent them and I work for their benefit. I work for everybody, but the number of functions that I define for myself is the benefit of the public. And I believe that qualifies me both from the thinking procedure, the thought procedure, and from functionality. That's what I think is happening.
Well, we want to thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon, and we wish you the best of luck with this year's election.
Thank you very much one more time. This has been always a great pleasure for me to talk to you.